The video you're watching is going to be about something that happened years and years ago that a very specific individual has not gotten over in 20 years. That angry old man next door yelling at clouds bought coastline land in Scotland to build a golf course in 2006, sued Edinburgh and their councilman over an offshore wind farm that would be seen from it that they approved of for very obvious reasons. It was 11 wind turbines, very large ones offshore. In 2015, he lost a court case, but it wasn't just any court case. He decided to push it to the Supreme Court because he was told repeatedly, "You can't tell us to change our rules, you idiot foreigner. And also, just because you own a golf course doesn't mean you control what happens at sea." But he didn't just lose the case. He lost it to the Supreme Court and then stiffed them on the bill that he owed for doing the case for almost 10 goddamn years. Because I'm not going to... When you file a case, you sign off on paying the bills if they sue you for costs. Because this was done... If the UK government sues you by saying you have to pay their bills that they have to pay, it's because it's a frivolous case. Because again, at this point, he'd been told no repeatedly, at which point loser pays, which is something you hear a lot of Republicans talk about, by the way. Also, he's the rich guy in this, isn't he? Maybe not. At the time, maybe not. 2015, think about it. The wind farm started running in 2018. In 2019, the UK government had to go through the Supreme Court to force Donald Trump to pay up his deadbeat bills. Anywhere from £225,000 or up to $300,000 or more in costs. It was, quote, settled. What that meant was he was explicitly told, no, you have to pay the bill and there's nothing else that's going to happen. So as a Pyrrhic victory, he paid probably more than that, because originally it said he owed tens of thousands of pounds, which by definition means under 100,000. He ended up paying what looks like double the number of bills because he kept pushing it for 4 more years. This is shit that happened almost 20 years ago that he won't get over. Not that he lost the case in 2019 or 2015 or whatever example, but that he picked this fight and lost it over and over again for nearly 20 years. He can't get over this. This is a dispute between a wealthy landowner, a land speculator, he's a real estate magnate, with a government. Well, some puny government should be able to tell me what to do because I tromp around in their property in their country and tell their city council what to do and that sort of thing. And he didn't sue for any valid reason. He just sued because he didn't like what it looked like. This is NIMBYism. This is a Karen. This is Donald Trump. So why did this person do this? Because he had a fuck ton of money, lots of dollars, and no sense. Or at least he thought he did. The reason he didn't pay the bill, if you haven't figured it out, is the only way he makes money is to get people to give him a bunch of money to throw at something, but he doesn't actually have any independent money. A bill at that time that would have been under $100,000 for suing to the Supreme Court in the United Kingdom and losing and being told over and over again by your advisors, you can't win this case. You're trying to tell a government to mandate their behavior within their coastal waters. That's not going to work. He was told over and over again, and yes, he fired some of his advisors, got in the habit of doing that. Anybody who tells me I'm wrong is wrong. He lost, and he couldn't take it, and it drove him insane. And he went from a person who signed a petition to Barack Obama to try to fix the environment, because the environment was something he cared about at one time, to being a staunch advocate against anything that fixes the problem. He sees any attempt to make the world a better place as encumbering him in, and this is the thing, the least way possible. No, it doesn't cause damage to whales and all this other shit. No, it literally doesn't. And he has been desperately trying to enact changes the Republicans want to remove protections for whales, birds, everything he talks about. He considers these things that are rather rare at the time, to be a bigger threat than shit that actually has been killing animals and birds and whales for centuries. Boats running into them, fishing nets, and invasive species like cats. He's against all that. Why? Vindictiveness. Pure, unadulterated rage. Nothing else. No moderation. No filter. Why is this a bad thing? Some of you out there really don't think that if someone going off on a rage and causing as much harm to themselves and everybody around them as possible, literally being willing to be a bull in a china shop just because they're annoyed by the view off of a coastline. Some of you believe that that's acceptable behavior and should be encouraged because maybe you have the same problem, or maybe you think that's acceptable, or maybe you love fanning the flames watching a supposedly rich person get away with shit. It feeds into your power fantasy or something. Or maybe it's a less pathological reason you actually think he was justified. I understand. Fine. That I can talk to you about. But him being against wind power, solar, or anything else is a 180 change from what he used to think, only because, and this is it, this is all we found, because it inconvenienced him in a project, and he lost. This is revenge. He doesn't care about being pragmatic, doesn't care about the outcome. And in case you haven't noticed, he went after red states, states with Republicans in it, that wanted to have high-speed internet subsidized by the government so that they could improve their lot in life, and he just kiboshed that because it had the word equity. Any word that means fair or balanced is a trigger word that's looked up by his administration to attack things, and he doesn't read anything about it. He just screams, it's bad, brings up trans rights or whatever, and screams, and then dictates a law. Dictatorships are where we the people and our representatives cannot overrule the king. In case you're not aware of it, we're in a dictatorship. Yeah, but if Obama did this, you'd be screaming and asking for him to be killed, and you'd have pitchforks and torches. Don't lie. If you're a Trump supporter, you do not treat people with the same set of rules. You believe that everybody has to be in a caste system. Everybody has to be given different privilege levels so you have power in some way, even if it's by proxy, even if you're vicariously enjoying your power trip through Trump or whoever. Or you don't. I am no longer able to believe that people who are screamers in the comment section or anything other than bots from some other country, AI bots from anywhere, and pathological idiots. Those of you who are normal and sane say, yeah, I voted for him as a protest. I voted for him as a protest a long time ago when he ran a kind of a pseudo campaign to get elected once for something completely different. It was funny. We did it as a joke. It was a meme. It's no longer a meme. It's no longer a joke. And ever since he actually was running for president and now got in twice, this is no longer funny. This is fucked up. He shouldn't be in charge. He's an idiot. And he's extremely easy manipulated. And in case you haven't noticed, if you stop looking at it through the lens of Trumpism, he's been getting manipulated by China and Russia so that they can use him for propaganda purposes. Ultimately, they know that a president in the United States is always temporary. Even if he manages to hoodwink the system to stay in power by being declared the vice president, which is what he's going to do, that's the only way he would be able to stay in the White House, he still is of limited duration. Almost a decade of Trumpism, even if it's got a break in the middle where we had Biden, which was kind of an improvement, doesn't change the fact that this is a reign of terror. And the last part I'm going to bring up is, this all goes back to a giant conspiracy by a bunch of groups of people who want to change the United States into something they can exploit. They claim to be religions, think tanks, or whatever. This is exactly the same thing as conspiracy theories brought up by that side for years and years and years, priming people to listen to this. And every one of you out there that's a true believer in these conspiracy theories, are you able to look in the mirror and say, I don't think I was lied to for decades. I don't think they were just priming me so they could actually go through this. I don't believe that every accusation's a confession. Can you actually do that with a straight face anymore? No, really. Any conspiracy theorists or believers, former or current, Do you really have the ability to do that when you look in the mirror? And yes, this is over a petty grudge he has with a specific city council that made him into a hater of something. And that seems very reasonable to me. I mean, that would be a reason a person would have a problem with it. But it's not reasonable for you to decide to dictate the laws in a country to have an effect on it. And if anybody's curious, no, it doesn't really affect anything at all as far as wind turbines and solar. He can't dictate that solar power plants have to produce electricity at night or they don't get to be plugged in, or any other cockamamie bullshit you might have heard about. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. You'll all need it. So will I.